let's switch gears a little bit to talk about social media. So SEO for the longest time, especially in the early days of the internet, like you go to google.com, type in whatever you want, look at the first results, click that. That's how you discovered things. Now there are these things called, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, all that kind of stuff that it's almost like the content finds you. Like I'll open up Instagram or TikTok or something like that and just mindlessly scroll and see something and be like, oh, what's that website? Like it's almost like a new form of discovery. What do you think of the influence of that? Does it take away from Google, or is it all related?
Yeah, and that's an interesting observation. I almost wonder if that's like a new way of like trivia collection. It's like we're getting hit with like just miscellaneous facts that we might have other cared to Google and discover. And maybe in some ways it replaced a future action because we thought of it in some way. But I bet it wouldn't, like net, you're still going to have that time and searches might go up for some of those things. But that it is interesting to think about that. But one of the goals is SEO is like, things that probably have high search volume, if you randomly find that on Twitter and you're interested in, again, copywriting about the ideal blog post length, you probably stop and you like that. You might even link to it. And that's going to help your SEO kind of the side of the equation. So like connecting those things is worth, like if I know someone searches for it and I have an interested social media audience, probably a good chance they're going to like that when I share it on social too.
It used to be kind of like, remember social media when it first came out was like, oh, the joke was like, oh, sharing what you had for breakfast. Yeah. And then people realized, wait a second, you can communicate a thought to potentially the whole world right away for free. Like, this is a pretty cool thing. So then, of course, like, marketers kind of ruin it. Gary Vaynerchuk quote, marketers ruin everything. Of like, they start posting their business stuff and offers and everything on there. But the thing is, it works. People sell stuff on Instagram. People do make a lot of money on TikTok. People make a lot of money on YouTube. So, I almost see it like if you have a really good article, you kind of break it up into a bunch of different social pieces, right? So your best copywriting software thing, you could actually break that up into a slideshow on Instagram or make it a tweet or something like that. It's almost like a natural extension of that content, and it's got like there's the main piece of content and the little fingerlings going out there on all the different social networks.
And I mean, Gary, I think he called that. I don't know if he debuted that model, but called it like, I think it's the Gary Vaynerchuk content model or something. He has a great deck. Basically, he makes one hero piece of content and he'll get like 300 pieces of content from that hero piece.
Oh yeah, he definitely, like, I don't know if he started it, but he was definitely one of the first one to kind of like coin
to market it
and talk about it.
Yeah,
and I know that deck that you're talking about. It's fantastic, by the way.
Yeah, it's great.
Is that something y'all do with content now?
We do. We haven't pushed it as hard. It is, I think this is one of those interesting pushes and pulls where it depends on how deep you go on some things. I find I even get weird anxiety as a social media marketer if I overshare. Like, you feel the second thing dwindle in the terms of the engagement you get. Mm-hmm. So if I'm like sharing a second piece of the same content, maybe this is just me overthinking it. You get less engagement, and then I'm like, oh, is this going to eventually dwindle to zero because I'm now sharing something that's less effective? I think in his case, if he's sharing a keynote that got like 400,000 views, that makes sense. But there's probably levels of like, my content is getting 1,000 very targeted B2B viewers. That doesn't cut up very nicely down to 20, if that makes sense. Like, people are going to stop caring as much, while his super epic piece, probably the proof is in the pudding that people will care, and more segments of the market will care about pieces of that.
Also, like, if someone's searching for a specific thing, the user intent is very high. Whereas they see it as a random feed while they're, sitting on the toilet.
Right.
It's just like not as, they're not as engaged. Like, they'll see it, they'll like it maybe, but the intent, I don't know, isn't all that strong.
Yeah, that's true.
But the cool part is it's kind of free exposure, which is interesting. So for whatever it's worth.
Yeah, I actually think, I don't know if I probably should check, and maybe this is why this is top of mind as well. I think our video, I cut one piece up of it, a few pieces up for it, and it did rank for some random long tail keywords. So I'm probably... I stopped doing it as much, but are you doing that?
I remember we did a long form interview on Siege Media, and then you cut it up, and there was a section called ADA Formula.
Yeah.
And I had a video on ADA Formula, but yours was filmed in much better quality. And so I actually linked that on an ADA post. And
I think
that,
it ranks on Google for ADA formula.
I know
actually.
it does. It does
ADA
really
model.
well. I looked it up, and I see my face in
Nice.
your face. Yeah. So
that strategy works. So
there you go.
Talk, yeah.
I guess so.
That is a smart way of applying it.